So let's talk for a moment. Heraldry. Probably one of the most ubiquitous terms in the SCA right now, and has been for years. We hear people talk about heralds, heraldic officers, he's a herald, she's a herald. Okay, we have heralds, but what does it mean to be a herald, and what does a herald do? Because that's where there's a little bit of confusion. So I just want to take a minute, and I want to break down the term heraldry, break down what it covers, and most importantly, this is where I really need you to pay attention. I need you to understand what it means and doesn't mean per person, because this is where there's some confusion. So first of all, let's break heraldry down. We like to generally bifurcate heraldry, voice and book. Now, voice heraldry, pretty straightforward. General categories are, of course, court heraldry. These are the people that open and conduct courts for nobles and royals. Then there's sight heraldry, my personal favorite. And these are the town criers, the people that walk sites indoor and out, making announcements for scheduling changes, activities in the next hour, and so forth. And of course, there's list heraldry, perhaps one of the most theatrically depicted in the movie The Knight's Tale with the character of Geoffrey Chaucer. But these are the people that call the pairings on tournaments, announce the winners. Lord so-and-so and Centurion so-and-so, please take the field. Victory to, that is their purview. It's kind of a little footnote to all this. One of the micro subsets to voice heraldry are the people that come forward and add pomp and circumstance to a feast by announcing the removes. For the next course, braised lamb and freshly made bread and so forth. So we have voice heraldry. Now, book heraldry, that's a much bigger topic. First of all, most famously, armory heralds. Armory heraldry is the art of helping people to design their coat of arms in the SCA, researching it, finding out what you can and can't put on there, accounting for possible allowances in certain areas that might not be allowed strictly under our rules, checking that design against existing and pre-registered designs to make sure it doesn't conflict. We have very specific rules that prevent two arms from looking too similar, so there's no confusion about who is being represented by that coat of arms. And then, of course, registering it. That's a bureaucratic process. It requires paperwork, and it requires knowledge of the process. And there's a bit of customer service involved as we make sure the customer, who very often is not a herald, is kept appraised of the steps involved, because it does take many months to do this. So that's, of course, armory heraldry. Then name heraldry. Oh boy, name heraldry. That's a ever-growing beast in its own right. Per the latest guidance in the society, the SCA now encompasses the whole world pre-1600, or pre-1650 if you want to be technical about it for some research purposes. So we're pretty much talking about every settled continent pre-1600. That's almost every civilization known to man. And the heralds that do name registration, these are the people who help us research, document, and submit and register your name with some sort of historical foundation. So, and this is where it gets into real specialty type stuff. I think most name heralds know the basics. They know to help you look for certain rosters, certain documents, but there's also there's specialists out there. I have just among my close circle of friends, specialists in medieval Russian, German, North English, South English, Scottish, Moorish, the Moorish nations, and of course Persia. We're talking about vastly different cultures that changed drastically over centuries. These people are each specialists, and they know where to look, on what documents, in what college archives, what websites, what names to look for. And very few of them have overlapping knowledge, because it's all they can do just to remember the knowledge they have for that field. These are specialists. So you have names heraldry. And another area in the SCA within the College of Heralds is we call them, or we should call them, administrative heralds. These are the heralds that help the gears turn in the college, and these are the ones that work on the process. They know what forms need to be filled out. They know how to conflict check. They know how the machinery runs, how our website needs to be maintained, how to list all of the previous names in such a way that we can cross-check them against new submissions, how to list all of the arms. Believe it or not, all of the devices ever registered in the SCA are listed in text, and there's a specific way you have to write that down because it's a text file, but they all have to be written down with the same general set of rules, and they're specialists. They're people whose primary focus is they know how to do that. So we have voice heraldry, we have book heraldry, and of course voice has its three components and a little footnote of a fourth component, and then we've got names, we've got arms, we've got administration, there's just all these different categories. Now here is the thing I need you to understand, and that's that almost no herald I know is credible, let alone good at all of that. That's a huge set of disciplines. I know some pelicans who are heralds who can't do all of that well. It's not a knock against them. You're talking about beyond Renaissance man. So when someone says they're a herald, that's a fair statement, and then they very much are a herald. I am a herald, even though I am not a book herald in most senses of the word. When someone says they're a herald, what I need you to remember is that you've only got half the story so far. It probably helps if you ask what their specialties are. Now I know plenty of people that do a lot of heraldry. I have plenty of my friends who are names herald or name and arms heralds who also do voice heraldry. It's a huge swath of that circle. I have plenty of friends that only do book heraldry, but they specialize in that. Mistress Emma de Featherstone has said she considers herself exceptionally good with arms, but is not so strong in names. I have plenty of friends who are really good at names and just don't want to deal with armory. There's no one template for what a herald is. So what does that mean for you the next time someone says they're a herald? That's great. And the bar to become a herald is not exceptionally high. Heraldry is a job description. We measure it on how good someone is at the path they've chosen. But when someone says they're a herald, that's okay, they probably are, but that doesn't mean they know all of these things. If you need a herald, you still want to check with them and make sure that the skills they have line up with the services that you need. And if not, and especially if it's a heraldic officer, heraldic officers are really no different from the rest of us in terms of their skill sets. It depends on what they've studied. A heraldic officer is responsible for providing you heraldic services. That is to say, they're responsible for making sure you have access to them. Chances are they can't provide all of them themselves. Very few of us are that good. So when someone says they're a herald, find out what their specialty is, and if it's not what you need, ask them if they know someone who does. So that's our little conversation for the moment. I just wanted to sit down and have that conversation so that maybe we're a little bit better informed, and as we move forward with the society, you'll have a better understanding of what heraldry means, what it doesn't mean, and what a herald could or could not do for you. God bless.